All right.
There we go. Live from SSM Health Trafford Studios. My name is Dr. Ashwin Sood, and I'm alongside my colleague and dear friend, Dr. Jeremy Chapman. And we welcome you to Divergent Minds. And Jeremy, who are we? What is Divergent Minds? And who are we with today?
Okay. We are a couple of child and adolescent psychiatrists who work for SSM Health, Trafford Studios. We are doing a weekly broadcast live on Facebook about different topics within children's mental health. And to this week's topic, we're talking about sensory differences, sensory processing differences, especially within those who have autism or other kind of related neurodevelopmental stuff, myself included. And we have the esteemed Dakota Escamilla with us. He is a employee of Trafford Studios, and he has kindly volunteered to speak with his own experience with all of this stuff. And we'll jump right in. And people, if you have questions, comments, feel free to drop them in the chat. Hopefully we'll be able to address them. And I don't know, any other intro stuff from you that you want to tell us about you?
Not really.
We'll
I'm kind of scary at times.
We'll jump into the conversation. Things will emerge. Ash.
Perfect. Well, I thought this would be a great opportunity. You know, our podcast that we highlight kind of takes on the themes of the year, seasons, if you will. And we're in the season of summer, and it is hot all over the country. We're seeing climate increases, and we're seeing record-breaking temperatures. And often individuals don't talk about how the temperature can affect mental health and how that can affect neurodivergent teens, adults, individuals of that nature. And so I thought it'd be great if we could start off this discussion with talking with you, Dakota, about as a neurodivergent individual with autism, how does the temperature affect you in terms of sensitivity to things, weather changes, things of that nature?
Weather changes can be difficult at times because sometimes it's so sudden where we're not able to prepare ourselves, I guess. And like right now, some of us, we have like a thing where we like to wear long sleeves or short sleeves because that's what makes us comfortable. But sometimes it's harder when the weather changes, like summer to winter and all that.
And around here, there is sometimes very volatile changes.
Oh yeah.
Go from 40 to 80 within a couple days. Right now it's pretty hot.
Too hot.
So you've got that thing on. Would you wear that outside right now?
Oh yeah, I would.
Okay. And because it's not a typical amount of layers to have right now. So tell us what would happen if you didn't?
Sometimes it would make me feel uncomfortable in ways, and with just wearing a short sleeve shirt at times, it's kind of a weird feeling where I don't feel too fully comfortable. But even with me wearing this, I don't feel comfortable outside because of it being hot, but it also feels comfortable sensitivity wise.
So you're saying texture versus temperature. You sometimes feel like you have to choose one or the other. And out of the two, which is more kind of important or disruptive for you?
Texture can really disturb me in some ways, but I've been able to bite my tongue most of the time. But it just depends on how hot it gets and whether I can safely go like, oh, yep, I can wear this, or too cold. I can wear this.
And by the way, we should make it very clear that sensory processing differences are not limited to individuals with autism or any neurodivergent or neurodevelopmental condition for that matter. I don't have autism. I do have ADHD, but I have a lot of, especially tactile sensitivities. And I remember as a kid, I did karate. My brother did karate. I lasted about 15 minutes because the uniform was itchy and I could not handle it. And I was interested in doing it, but like, it was like, no. And you had to wear the special white thing with a gi. It's a gi with a belt. And I just wasn't having it at all. So, people who do or do not have any condition may have certain special needs or things that they know about themselves, that have to be factored in. I know, Ash, what about you?
So tactile sensations for me aren't too bad. I think I find myself in that overall sensations, like what you commonly see in the media is like screeching on a whiteboard. Yeah, that makes my teeth chatter. Or certain smells or aromas, that olfactory kind of sensation that you kind of smell something can kind of throw you off a little bit. But otherwise, majority of the time, hypersensitivity or hyposensitivity to feelings, touch doesn't bother me. So I'm really curious,
You're our token normal person on the show. We need to have like a normal guy.
A neurotypical. I find myself as a neurotypical individual who's very curious about some of this stuff.
Yeah.
Token normal person, as they call it.
And you alluded to something, but we talk about two things. There's sensory avoidance and then sensory seeking behaviors, and that can be in all the different modalities: touch, sound, light. And so somebody may really not like loud noises, but maybe really drawn towards certain frequencies or other noises. So it's both about what you don't like and what you do like. When you think about textures, Dakota, and then we'll move on to other modalities next, are there certain textures that you really do crave? Soft, scratchy, bumpy, clothes or otherwise?
Yeah, sometimes I like a rough texture. And since I've been starting to play the guitar, I've been doing this with my fingers more because of the calluses now that develop and the feeling that it gives me. And then,
So that draws you. I mean, do you like how it feels while you're playing the instrument?
oh yeah, I love how it feels.
And I think you said when you instrument's not in your hand, you're also finding yourself replicating the feeling that you feel from having the hard nylon strings digging into your fingertips a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Is that right?
Yeah, I'll sometimes even push my thumb into my finger to try to mimic the feeling of a string.
Interesting. So that almost drove you to that instrument, would you say? As opposed to a different one where you have not using, strings, basically.
Yeah, I would say for the guitar at least, it was more the sound that
Sound
really
too.
drew me in. Yeah.
Multi-sensory reasons
Oh
for
yeah.
liking that.
I want to chime in here because I'm really fascinated and I'm new to this world as a child psychiatrist to work with individuals with autism and to see kind of sensory experiences. Here at the Trufford Studios, we have drums, we have guitars, we have pianos, and I'll ask Dr. Chapman as well as you, Dakota, but take a teenager or a child who hasn't had a lot of musical experience, right? But then they're on the autism spectrum, giving them an experience with these types of instruments. Do you find that beneficial, or do you find that almost like it taps into a whole different way of learning compared to like a neurotypical youth?
I would say both. The feeling now that some can get from it can be very beneficial, And some just love learning that way too, by listening to songs or maybe trying to make their own songs for the whatever they're learning.
Mhm.
Yeah, I part of our intention with having such a wide variety of musical instruments here at Trafford Studios is to be able to expose people to different things, help them find their strengths, their interests, and you may listen to a certain type of an instrument. Brian, our therapist, Brian Mishler, has in his office that very pleasing, I forgot what it's called.
Yeah, it's like a drum, but it's not really.
Metally, it's kind of like a boom, 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 boom. It's a nice scale.
Oh yeah.
It actually has a nice feel to it, right? It's like this
Yeah, it's
smooth, little
smooth.
bumpy metal. Hard to describe. I should have brought it in here.
Yeah,
Well,
we should have just took it.
oh, well,
Yeah,
talking about objects, right?
yeah.
There's a
Hmm.
couple items that we have around us. I see costumes, I see
Yeah.
Rubik's cubes, I see, squishy things. Guys, what are we looking at? Why does our studio look a little bit different than most Divergent Mind podcasts?
Keep telling him. I'm going to get this on.
All right. So for like textures, we decided to grab a whole bunch of different objects because the textures feel different to some people, where some will seek it out or some will try to avoid it because it's just it's like a weird feeling.
I mean, this like faux chainmail, I'm terrified of right now. I'm going to try this on for science, but I'm not looking forward to wearing this. I found this in our costume. We have a whole bunch of costumes here at Shepherd Studios too, and I looked for one that would have an interesting kind of feeling, and just you can even hear it. It's just going to be. Well, we'll see what happens. Keep talking. I'm going to try this on. Come in. Some sort of
All
a
right.
night.
Yeah, even like some objects now that we put on our head, sometimes it feels off or we like it. Like this hat, for example. It's a nice hat, but the texture of the trucker
Oh,
style,
you don't like that?
no, I don't like it, but I do wear it just to show my support. So that's just my way of going like,
You can push through the discomfort of it for another purpose, is what you're saying,
yes.
which not everyone can.
Yep, not everyone can.
All right, let's see here. This is
And Dakota, like when you had these sensory experiences and you were kind of introduced to them first time, like were they very calming? Because I think about the people who watch our kind of Facebook podcast, could be parents or teachers, who have kids in their surroundings who have autism, who they don't know how to comfort or how to relax. So what would be like a way in which, which was helpful for you, for an adult to kind of teach you about these like textile like exposures?
There are different ways on how you could be introduced to it.
Yeah.
Like, let's see here. Basically, some kids, they like rough play, climbing, or just walk around and, without shoes. So just feeling the texture on their feet. And there's even deep pressure too, that can even calm a kid down. Even rough play kind of helps get energy out. And then like climbing a tree, it's kind of like a texture and feel now that you get on your hands.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, different types of. By the way, I completely failed to get this thing on. It's actually
We're
quite
just kind of
confusing.
watching you, and Dakota and I are just watching you for
You know what? I'm not going to get it. There's just too many different. But just
there was like a
feeling this
jacket
against my
to
skin,
the
I
right of
know
you.
that I would hate it. This is a really hard costume to put on. I'm gonna work on it later, and then maybe we can put after the broadcast a picture of me in the comments here, or make a post out of it, with the whole outfit on, so I can show up. I'm not gonna be able to figure it. I should have practiced this ahead of time. This thing is you got this piece, some here. I don't know how this.
I just want to highlight to the audience, Dr. Chapman loves a challenge, and there's a jacket literally to the right of that costume or left of that costume that is just a jacket, but he picked the Iron Crusader costume to go with.
I'll put these headphones back on so I can rejoin the conversation. Maybe I'll leave this weird thing on. If anybody knows what, I don't know, some certain show.
Yes, leave your tunic on.
I'll leave my tunic on. The tunic's not bothering me. But that texture, I mean, that sweaters, wools, I cannot do wool. And then also like, if my sleeve gets wet, I hate like wet clothes against my skin. It's awful. Or if I have a sleeve and then it put on another layer and the other sleeve gets bunched up under it, it's just intolerable for me.
Yeah, I know that feeling.
And you learn to, again, ignore some of that stuff. I mean, if I get distracted, sometimes that works. But oftentimes I have to keep shifting around. Now, we did bring some of these as well. I find that one very pleasing. And I don't know if we can get a close up, kind of, it is rubber silicone, but it's got those little nubbies.
Yep, it has like nubs on it, and I think I might have broke it. So, yeah.
This one's similar. It's got that stretch. So it's interesting when I have patients come into my office, seeing which things they gravitate towards. This one has a nice sound to it as well, and it's got that kind of jiggly, googly thing. Some people like this. I will be in a meeting, and I'll just be mindlessly, going like this. Nice camera work. By the way, shout out to the Trufford Studios production team. We're getting better and better each week. So there we go.
Process.
You can tell a lot about somebody, I think, by what they do with their, hands and feeling stuff. And sometimes getting the right kind of fidget can really help somebody out, Again, go ahead.
And I want to highlight big time, I had a patient recently this week with autism and difficulty with speaking, nonverbal, and was in one of our clinic rooms and having a really tough time being able to sit still. And at the Trufford Studios, which is really cool, is we have a sensory room. And so kind of popped into my head. One of the staff said, should we bring them back there? And within 10 minutes of being in the sensory room, totally quiet, enjoying all the different things to look at. There's like a little fish pole that has like bubbles coming up. And I see both of you nodding to that, but that, like this.
Yeah.
And patient loved it and was super happy and was hand flapping. And I asked mom and dad what that meant. And they said, oh, that's exciting.
It's a good thing. It's a good thing.
So, and so you can see, sensory for neurotypical individuals who might not have these experiences will often say, well, it's just a sensation, just, move through it. It's fine. But when you have hypersensitivity or hyposensitivity, it can really be distracting and difficult to tolerate. So it's really cool to kind of see that transition of just like, there's no medication involved. It's just a different sensation overall. And it can really change things around.
We have the luxury of a sensory room here. We built it intentionally with having that. Some schools are great about having one of those too. And I have a lot of patients where they're like, we switched school districts and our new school does not have any place for him to go when he gets overwhelmed or when he needs to chill out. And man, that makes a huge difference sometimes. And I don't know, what are your recommendations, Dr. Sood, when you have folks who have a specific type of accommodation that they would need, but the school doesn't seem to have the capacity to provide that for them?
That's a really, really good question. I kind of look at the do-it-yourself type of stuff. I first go to like maybe Amazon, or I first like figure out, okay, you like let's just say wool that actually feels good to you. You enjoy that. Let's go to Amazon. Let's find see something that's like, I know for you maybe not, but for someone else maybe so, right? It's applicable. It feels good. It feels comforting. It feels warm, and the wool going against your skin. Sorry, I'm just gonna keep doing this to you, Dr. Chef.
Driving me nuts. I reached for a comfort fidget. You started talking about that. It's out of my awareness.
But I'll like look at a couple products. I'm like, is this something in budget? And then what I'll do is I'll try to connect with the school and say, hey, I know you don't have a sensory room, but we found these products that if we can put in each homeroom or each period, that the teacher can actually have like a different color of, and then that student can come and like if they're having distressing time, hold that for like 5 minutes and try using that. And that way they don't need to create a sensory room. And it can be a coordinated effort amongst the physician or the therapist and the school. And everybody starts to get on the same page a little bit. Teachers start learning, okay, so if he likes that, can I try this? And that's how you kind of create like a do-it-yourself man-made
I like
problem,
that.
right?
Also,
Because
oh yeah, go ahead.
well, I was going to say like, right, there's IEPs and 504s, which are education plans that can provide some of these things, but those take a long time to implement and are different for both public and private schools. So that's what I kind of think about.
Yeah, I love the take it into your own hands thing. Another thing parents may ask for is an occupational therapist. So we can make referrals to OT. In fact, I just had a patient recently, and I looked through the whole evaluation by the occupational therapist, and it's a detailed report. He seeks tactile information, brings things to his face. It's a really good kind of overview profile of that person that the school may be able to look at and implement. That's an OT, and then the occupational therapist can work on that stuff with them, help them, kind of desensitize them to things that may be causing problems. Everything from seats and chairs and clothes to also food textures, which can be a big issue for people. Before I forget, we also have Dakota brought in these earbuds. Let's talk headphones for a second. Earphones. Tell us about these.
Yeah, sometimes when I get overwhelmed, it's a sensory thing where I like listening to my music, but even when I'm in my car, I might blast it and start singing along with it because of the vibrations that it causes in my car and the vibration in my own vocals. It feels nice and kind of calming, to be honest. I know it's not really for other people driving around me, just hearing some guy singing at the top of his lungs and seeing the car shaking while driving.
But it's actually serving a purpose for you. You're not just doing it to be a jerk.
Yep, pretty much.
Yeah.
Even with listening to music just with your earbuds, I might blast my music in my own earbuds just because I like the sound that it produces, because there's some music that can kind of bring like a sensation to my own head that I like. Even with singing, it could even just be by myself without any music, or when I do like some voice impressions, it causes a feeling that feels nice to me.
What this reminds me a little bit of is ASMR. Have you ever looked at or listened to ASMR videos? Right? We have these nice microphones here. You can kind of hear the texture of the microphone. For those who don't know, ASMR, what is it? It's autonomic sensory meridian response, something along that. You can Google it for us, Ash.
Sure. ASMR meaning is autonomous sensory meridian response. You nailed it.
Autonomous. And so it refers to that feeling, that tingling in our heads, oftentimes that people feel when like you're being pampered, or when you're hearing certain very almost intimate or pleasant sounds. There's a whole world on YouTube of ASMR creators, channels, and videos. And typically the setup is somebody alone in their room with a very high quality microphone and a bunch of different objects. And they'll take these things up to the microphone, sometimes for an hour at a, just going through different things. So brushes.
We're talking about hypersensitivity. That just I did not like that.
Is that bad? That was bad.
That was
So should I get you back?
So maybe it's sound.
Like wolfing to me. What do you think? Is this good or bad? You like it? Oh, that little snapping sound. Right. Yeah, and then we got. So you don't like those, Ash, huh? Those are bothering you?
No.
Some people
no.
love certain types of sounds like that, or just fingernails on the microphone. And I have patients who use an ASMR video to help them fall asleep at night. And the parents are like, what is ASMR? So we have a conversation about it. Can be very soothing. It's a whole world out there, ASMR. And it's really sensitivity, is what it comes down to. What about noise canceling headphones? Do you ever use those?
I did when I was younger, but it was briefly because I didn't like the feeling of not being able to hear. So I had to get used to sound, I guess, and got used to it in my own way.
There's a lot of choices. Either I sacrifice hearing stuff, or I sacrifice my comfort level in order to be able to, tolerate noises. You were going to say something, Ash, and I also noticed that we're a couple minutes out from the end. So I'll give you the floor.
Well, I was just gonna say, I'm looking at different websites that offer different ideas for like tactile sensations, because there might be parents watching this who have kids with autism and also hypersensitivity issues or hyposensitivity kind of things that make them kind of like, well, this I don't know, what can I give my kid? And there's all different types of things. I'm looking at Autism Speaks, and they have things like, getting different colored lima beans and like dried beans and just changing the colors with food coloring and separating the colors out and having your child just put their hands through it. And that can feel really therapeutic.
Oh, the dried beans are amazing.
Oh,
yeah.
It's so satisfying.
Yeah, there you go. Or like getting a spider web walk, which is like basically getting a web on the ground and putting Legos and not Legos, but like some type of like soft thing in each intersection, and to walk have an individual walk on. So it's not just tactile stimulating, but it's visually stimulating as well. There's a zipper board, a simple board that makes put little zippers, and again, all of these things can be found on Google. I'm gonna put this in our chat.
Yeah.
Maybe this can be put into
while you
comments.
do that, we'll be remiss to not mention the squeeze machine and weighted blankets and body socks for people who enjoy the sensation of squeeze. And sometimes that's an overlooked thing. And you get someone a weighted vest or a weighted blanket, and it's like game changing for them because they can really calm down when they have that just weight on them, or the squeeze that it provides.
All right. I'm posting all of these on our chat as well, so people can kind of look at it, and our producer will hopefully put it on our Facebook podcast so people can actually look at these things. But this is super important, I think, because we're often as doctors asked to give medications, and that should be a last line defense for individuals with autism who, when they have a hypersensitivity kind of reaction, become agitated or irritable or anything understandably, and we're asked to throw a med at it. These things can help divert that. And that's why it's really important to talk about this issue.
And it's often missed under the radar. OT talks about like the term sensory diet, giving people exposure to things that would be helpful to them, and that oftentimes parents or even teachers haven't considered.
Absolutely.
Right.
Well, one thing is, what are we going to task people with our 15 minutes today?
So at the end of our thing, the end of our broadcast, there's always a little mini assignment for folks. Maybe a little bit of introspection. Maybe somebody could think about, where they are right now. Is there anything that they are doing that's either bothersome from a touch standpoint or pleasing from a touch standpoint? And then repeat that with, sounds. I guess the goal would be to become aware of the fact that really everybody has their preferences sensorially. And, so we can kind of destigmatize it, not view it as like, oh, those people need special needs, special accommodations, and
Right.
realize that like everybody does things that are comfortable and suited to them. Maybe something along those lines. Take a quick sensory inventory of your surroundings right now, and just notice the clothes you're wearing, the seat, type of drink or food around you. What do we think of that as a little assignment?
Love it. Love it. And practice it.
And
Why not?
practice it.
Check it
Yes.
out. See how it feels.
Self-awareness.
Definitely
Um,
gonna listen to some ASMR videos. See if I can.
Yes. Oh, that could be one too. Look at Google and ASMR. Listen to a video or two. Tell us what you think. We'd love to hear in comments here recommendations of products from folks, thoughts on the ASMR videos, so on and so forth. Any closing thoughts from you, our guest?
I'm gonna work on eating fish.
Right.
It's a goal.
Right. That's
a
a good goal
goal.
for tactile and gustatory sensations.
We could have an interesting, maybe part 2 of this topic next week. We could actually do some desensitization, bring in some foods or textures that are hard for us and see if we can manage through them. I know, Ash, you're perfectly normal and you don't have any kind of,
You
idiosyncrasies.
literally proved that wrong.
But, oh yeah, it's right. We proved him wrong.
Yeah.
But, yeah, maybe next week we could do something like that. That'd be interesting.
Awesome. Well, we are a little bit over time, but that is a wrap for today.
Yes.
We are so delighted to have you all on the show this afternoon. My name is Dr. Afid
Thank you.
Sood. I'm here with Dr. Jeremy Chapman and Dakota Escamilla. Thank you so much for joining us today on Divergent Minds. We are a Facebook Live event where we discuss everything related to mental health. If you'd like to learn more about our work, follow us at TrefferStudios.com or any of our social media pages. Like, share, and follow to get the word out. Y'all have a wonderful day.
Have a fantastic day, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
See ya.